All right, let's jump right in. This is probably one of the biggest financial questions you can ask yourself, especially trying to figure out the 2026 economy. So we're going to break it all down. Is that house you're living in really building your wealth, or is it quietly draining your bank account?
You know, for decades, this has been the absolute bedrock of the American dream. We've all been told, buy a home, it's your biggest and best investment. But is that actually still true today? It's time we seriously challenge that core belief.
And this quote right here, from Robert Kiyosaki, it just cuts right to the heart of the whole debate. It's such a simple but powerful idea. Forget what something's worth on paper. It all comes down to cash flow. Does it pay you, or do you pay it? So, using that super simple definition, we're going to build out a clear framework for 2026. My goal is that by the end of this, you'll be able to look at your own situation and know for sure which side of the ledger your home falls on.
So why is this question so confusing in the first place? Well, it's because there are two totally different and honestly equally valid ways to look at it. It really all depends on which financial lens you're looking through.
And this is where it gets really interesting. From a traditional accounting point of view, of course your home is an asset. It's got value, it shows up on your balance sheet, you build equity, it makes your net worth go up. But if you look at it from that pure cash flow perspective we just talked about, whoa, it's a completely different story. It's a liability. Think about it. Every single month, money for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs, it's all flowing out of your pocket. It's not putting a single dollar back in.
And that cash flow drain, it gets so much worse when we fall into what you could call the lifestyle liability trap. That's basically just buying way more house than we actually need. And in 2026, this isn't just a small leak. It can be a huge hole in your finances.
Okay, first, let's talk maintenance. A good rule of thumb is to budget somewhere between 1% and 4% of your home's total value every year just for basic upkeep and repairs. Now, that might not sound like much, but for a $500,000 home, that's up to $20,000 a year you just have to expect to spend.
And then you've got insurance. Wow, this number is just staggering. Home insurance premiums have shot up by nearly 70% since 2021, and they are not slowing down. This is a massive, growing expense that really catches a lot of homeowners by surprise.
And here's the real kicker. For 2026, the projected national home value appreciation is just 1.1%. So when you actually do the math, that tiny amount of growth might not even be enough to cover your mortgage interest, your taxes, and that maintenance budget we just mentioned. You could literally be losing money in real terms.
Okay, so that's the problem. Enough of the doom and gloom. What's the solution? How do you flip the script on this? Well, the key is to make your home start working for you. You have to find a way for it to generate income and start putting money back into your pocket.
So here are some of the most common ways to do that in 2026, and they all have different income potentials and require different levels of effort. You've got your standard, long-term rental, pretty low effort, nice and stable. On the complete other end of the spectrum, you've got short-term rentals, like an Airbnb, which can bring in some serious cash, but let's be real, it's basically a part-time job. And then there are super low-effort things, like just renting out your garage for storage or an extra parking space.
But I want to put a special spotlight on one of these, the ADU, or accessory dwelling unit. You know, like a small guest house or apartment on your property. 2026 is being called the year of the ADU for a good reason. New financing rules are a total game changer. Starting in March, you can finance the construction of up to 3 of these things using the projected future value of your property after they're built. This is a massive, massive opportunity to add serious cash flow and boost your resale value.
So looking at these options, which one kind of jumps out at you for your own situation? I'm really curious to hear what you think, so drop a comment below. And hey, if you have any questions about how these models actually work, ask away. We'll get into it.
All right, let's shift gears and tackle the classic debate. If your only goal is financial growth, where's the smarter place to put your money in 2026? Into a home or into the stock market?
Now, at first glance, the numbers here seem to tell a really clear story. Let's say we assume a pretty healthy 5% home appreciation. Well, the stock market, looking at the S&P 500, is still projected to return somewhere between 9 and 12%. So case closed, right? The stock market wins.
Well, not so fast. There's a secret weapon that real estate has that completely changes the math. There is one single concept that can make that 5% return way more powerful than the S&P 500's 12%.
And that concept is leverage. To put it simply, it's using other people's money, in this case, the bank's money from your mortgage, to control a much, much larger asset than you could ever afford with just your own cash.
Let's walk through exactly how this works, because this is the crucial part. Say you put down $100,000 in cash to buy a $500,000 home. The home's value goes up by 5%, which is a $25,000 gain. But here's the thing. You didn't make $25,000 on a $500,000 investment, you made $25,000 on your actual cash of $100,000. That is a 25% return on your money. That is the magic of leverage.
Okay, so leverage makes real estate incredibly powerful. But a truly smart financial strategy isn't just about stocks versus real estate. To really preserve and grow your wealth in 2026, you got to look at a wider range of assets that all play different roles in your portfolio.
And here's just a quick snapshot of some of those alternatives. Think of it this way. Gold has always been seen as a hedge, something to protect you. A 10-year treasury is all about safety, keeping your capital safe while earning a reliable return. Private credit is pretty interesting. It shoots for stock-like returns, but with less of the wild swings. And then you've got Bitcoin, which some people now see as a hedge against currency losing its value, but it definitely comes with a lot of volatility.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, from cash flow and hidden costs to leverage and alternative assets. So let's bring it all back home, literally, and wrap this up with a final framework you can apply directly to your own life.
This right here is the single most important question you need to answer. Forget what everyone else says. What job are you hiring your home to do? Is its number one purpose to provide shelter for you and your family? Is it basically a forced savings account to build equity? Or is it a financial vehicle that you expect to produce aggressive growth? Because at the end of the day, your answer to that question is everything. If its job is just shelter, then the monthly cash you spend is just the cost of living. No big deal. But if you expect it to be a growth engine and it's not generating any cash flow, then it's failing at its job and it's a liability. You are the one who gets to decide. I really hope this framework helps you think about your home in a brand new way. If you found this valuable, a like would be amazing. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. Remember, the goal isn't just to own a home. It's to own your financial future. Thanks for watching.